The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please take their seats. All members of this House will please report to the floor and take your seats. Time to give up the donuts and report to work. Mr. Clerk, would you ring the bell? There's a possibility. All members will report to the floor. We are going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Somebody getting you? Okay. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. Going to be another beautiful day in Georgia. We have a busy day. I'm going to ask for your cooperation as we go through the morning. I'm not sure. I've had a number of you ask me about our schedule and whether we'll be able to complete our work before lunch, and my answer is I have no idea. So, but we're going to stay with it till we get it done. We are getting to that point of the session. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the lady from the 65th House District, Representative Sharon Beasley Teague. Representative Beasley Teague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. Today I'm honored to have my bishop and first lady here, Bishop Aaron B. Lackey Sr. He's the youngest child of Deacon James E. Lackey Sr. and the late Mother Nornell H. Lackey. God has blessed Bishop to receive his Bachelor's of Arts degree in Biblical Studies, a Master's of Arts degree in Biblical Counseling, and a Doctorate of Biblical Studies, plus many honorary degrees from various institutions. On March 2nd, 1985, he married his high school sweetheart, Miss Lakita Caldwell. His beautiful wife is here. God has blessed them with two beautiful children and two beautiful grandchildren. In 1988, he organized the Temple of Prayer, United Church of God in Christ, and since January 10th, 2009, he also serves as Chief Apostle and Presiding Bishop of the United Church of God in Christ, Incorporated, an international ministry with churches throughout the United States, the Caribbean, and the continent of Africa. Also, God has allowed Bishop Lackey to receive numerous honors, awards, and proclamations. Bishop Lackey's greatest honor is to serve and to empower the least, the lost, the less, and the left out. His prophecy of doing God's work is always doing servant leadership. This is evident throughout the community of Fairburn, which is where I reside in that area. He is a board member for the Voter Empowerment Collaborative. Bishop Lackey serves as secretary of the South Fulton Ministerial Alliance. He serves as a law enforcement chaplain for the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, also the public safety chaplain for the police and fire and emergency services in Fairburn, Georgia. From a national search in January 2019, Bishop Lackey was selected as one of only 40 pastors nationally to become the Hampton University Prime Fellow. My bishop's also the Chief Executive Officer of Aaron B. Lackey Ministry Incorporated, which is a 501c3 organization that coordinates of the bishop's foreign and domestic travels, charitable outreach, and efforts all over with workshops and seminars. I just want to say, this is my friend. He blesses me all the time. And I'm just proud to have known him for the 20-something years that they have been in Fairburn, and how patient they are. See, when you find people that are patient with people with my energy, you have to bless them, because truly, those of you that know me know it takes a lot to be able to deal with some of the things that go on in the walk of life, and I don't mind expressing them. So for that reason alone, I want y'all to pray with my pastor as he prays with y'all, because he's a strong man of God. And I'm thankful to introduce Bishop Aaron B. Lackey Sr., the chaplain of the day.
Good morning. Grace and peace be unto you in the name of God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. We honor each of you, and we thank God for this opportunity to serve as your chaplain today. I'm very thankful for my wife of almost 34 years, Mrs. Lakita Lackey, and we also appreciate so many that have come, many that are in the gallery, that have come to lend their support today. And if you did come to support us today, would you please stand? I just want to know who you are myself. Thank you so much. So many of you I see. Thank you for your support today. We also thank Representative Sharon Beasley Teague for extending this invitation, and we are grateful to the Honorable David Ralston, our great Speaker of the House, for approving the invitation and allowing me to be able to stand before you on today. We extend pastoral greetings from Temple of Prayer Family Worship Cathedral in Fairburn, Georgia. Been honored to serve there for over 31 years, and also bring you salutations from the global membership of the United Churches of God in Christ, where I've been able to serve for the past 10 years as their presiding bishop. What an honor it is, as I look over this chamber today, to see so many of you and to actually be able to say that I know so many of you personally. My wife and I have been with many of you during some of your greatest victories, as well as during some of your most difficult trials. I'm reminded of a conversation I had many years ago with Representative Sharon Beasley Teague, when she was overcoming a medical issue. And she shared something that was so profound. She said, most people assume that because you all are members of the House of Representatives, that you live in this fairy tale world that has no obstacles, no illnesses, no pains, no problems, no family disturbances. And they just believe that you all are in this fairy tale bubble where everything always works perfectly and you're always able to clearly see your way. But we all know the reality is that in spite of our statuses, in spite of our vocations, all of us go through periods of uncertainty where we feel like life as we know it is really not making sense. While meditating and praying about today's address, a passage from the Gospel according to St. John chapter 10, verse 10 came to mind. The words of Christ says, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly." From this passage, I want to leave you with this thought: a life that makes sense. A life that makes sense. And we will use the word life as an acronym to make the points more memorable. In order for our lives to make sense, we must first of all, increase our capacity to love. Yes, as House members, I'm sure you're passionate about your beliefs and passionate about your beliefs, but I charge you today and I challenge you to never allow your political and professional battles to become personal, where you begin to dislike one another. Never lose the capacity to love. You must invest in yourselves. Invest in yourselves and also invest in other people. I challenge you today to invest in opportunities to learn more about people in general. Visit communities that you normally would not visit. Interact with cultures you normally would not interact with. Try to understand the plight of people that may be different from you, whether their differences are racial, economic, gender, faith, or even they have differences in their sexual orientations. Your job as a representative is to be able to interact with them so that you can invest in them. It is very difficult to represent people that you've never interacted with. I challenge you to prioritize family relationships. Your job as a member of the House requires long hours and tireless and sometimes thankless service. But prioritize and follow this advice. I always teach that God and God alone should be first. But then I teach that family should be a very close second. Our vocations and all of the other vicissitudes of life should fall after family, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. Because if we are fortunate enough, we never know how we're going to die or when we're going to die, but if we are fortunate enough to have a deathbed experience, chances are you will not be surrounded by the governor, the lieutenant governor, the Speaker of the House, senators, fellow House members, but chances are you will be surrounded by members of your family. And so never get too busy to fortify and to prioritize the family relationship. And then the letter E. If you want your life to make sense, you must ask yourself, where will I spend eternity? Christ asks us a profound question in Matthew chapter 16, verse 26. He says, "What will it profit a man to gain the whole world and then you lose your soul? What good is it going to be to reach the status of being a member of the House, but you didn't take care of things with your soul? What can a man give in exchange for his soul?" So as I close, if you really want your life to make sense, it will only make sense when you're not swayed by partisanship. Your life will only make sense when you're not deterred by classism, sexism, racism, and any other isms. Your life will only make sense when you're not influenced by the rich and powerful. It'll only make sense when you find ways to offer hope to the hopeless, and when you can give reassurance to the downtrodden. I challenge you and I encourage you to use the power that you have as a legislator to work and to do everything in your power to guarantee that every citizen of the state of Georgia will have a fair chance to experience a semblance of abundant life. Please hear what the Spirit is saying to us on today, a life that makes sense. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we thank you for your grace and we thank you for your mercy. We thank you for the opportunity to share a brief word with the members of this august body. Strengthen their families and allow this time of devotion to be a source of inspiration to them, a source of inspiration to their staffs as well as to all that are assembled. Father, we ask during this year's General Assembly that the spirit of unity and bipartisanship will prevail. We ask that the only agenda under the Gold Dome this year will be the people's agenda. Let every bill that is generated or passed be done from the viewpoint, is this the best bill for the people of God, for the people of Georgia? Continue to bless and protect Governor Brian Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, Speaker David Ralston, and everyone under the sound of my voice. We ask these things in the matchless name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. The chair recognizes Chairman Darlene Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits have read the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on 59 moves following me establishes the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 457 by Representative Jones, the 25th, and Cantrell, the 22nd, a bill being entitled Act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 8 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to general provisions regarding equipment of motor vehicles.
Judiciary.
House Bill 458 by Representative Gullett of the 19th, Burns of the 159th, Barr of the 103rd, Smith the 133rd, more the 95th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 2 and Title 25 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to regulation of fire and other hazards.
Natural Resources and Environment.
House Bill 459 by Representative Earhart of the 36th, Carson of the 46th, Dempsey the 13th, Cooper the 43rd, Gaines the 117th. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 5, Article 2 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to school buses.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 460 by Representative Robichaux of the 48th, McLaurin of the 51st, Jones of the 47th, Martin of the 49th. Bill being titled an act to authorize the governing authority of the city of Roswell to levy an excise tax.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 461 by Representative Cannon of the 58th, Dreyer of the 59th, Schofield of the 60th, McLaurin of the 51st, and Stevenson of the 165th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to property tax exemptions.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 462 by Representative Smith of the 70th, Bonner of the 72nd, Stover of the 71st, and Trammell of the 132nd. Bill be entitled an act to amend an act providing a homestead exemption from Coweta County School District ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 463 by Representative Montahan of the 17th, Powell of the 32nd, Carpenter of the 4th, Bonner of the 72nd, Gravely the 67th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to motor vehicles and traffic.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 464 by Representative Montmahan of the 17th, Hatchett of the 150th, Jaspers of the 11th, Kelly of the 16th, Hill of the 3rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 3, Chapter 2, and Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to local boards of education.
Education.
House Bill 465 by Representative Parsons of the 44th, Drenner of the 85th, Smith of the 70th. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 46 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to public utilities and public transportation.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
House Bill 466 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Earhart of the 36th, Dollar of the 45th. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 4 of Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to general provisions regarding selection and qualifications of candidates.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 467 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Earhart of the 36th, Parson of the 44th, and Dollar of the 45th. Bill be entitled an act to provide the future elections for the office of Clerk of Superior Court of Cobb County shall be nonpartisan.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 468 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Earhart of 36, Parsons of the 44th, and Dollar of the 45th. Bill be entitled an act to provide that future elections for the office of Clerk of the State Court of Cobb County shall be nonpartisan elections.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 469 by Representative Dollar of the 45th, Powell of the 32nd, Jaspers of the 11th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to property.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bills 473 by Representative Park of the 101st, Trammell of the 132nd, Schofield of the 60th, Wen of the 89th, Wilson of the 80th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to the imposition rate computation exemptions from income tax.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 474 by Representative Kirby, the 114th, Kelly of the 16th, Carpenter of the 4th, McLean of the 100th, and Jones of the 91st. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to workers' compensation.
Industry and Labor.
House Bill 475 by Representative Dreyer of the 59th, Shannon of the 84th, Schofield of the 60th, Bodie the 62nd, Cannon of the 58th, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 1 of Title 42 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to inmate policies.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 476 by Representative Stovall, the 74th, Stevens, the 164th, Belton, the 112th, and Jones, the 25th. Bill be titled an act to amend Subpart 2, Part 1 of Article 16 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to compulsory attendance for students in elementary and secondary education.
Education.
House Bill 477 by Representative Stevens, the 164th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Code Section 3145.3 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to definitions regarding public swimming pools.
State Planning and Community Affairs.
House Bill 478 by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd. A bill be entitled an act to amend Article 8 of Chapter 5 of Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to the Central Child Abuse Registry.
Juvenile Justice.
House Bill 479 by Representative Clark, the 147th, Cantrell of the 22nd, Smith, the 134th, England of the 116th, Sutzler, the 35th, and others. Bill be titled an act to provide greater protections for individuals who have suffered from childhood sexual abuse.
Judiciary.
House Bill 480 by Representative Scoggins, the 14th, Gamble of the 15th, Powell the 32nd, Tarvin of the 2nd, Williamson in the 115th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2, Chapter 5, and Title 46. The official code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding telephone service.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
House Bill 481 by Representative Setzler, the 35th, Lott of the 122nd, Taylor 173rd, Bonner of the 72nd, Earhart of the 36th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 and Title 1 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to persons and their rights.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 482 by Representative Dollar of the 45th and Martin of the 49th. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 5 of Chapter 5 of Title 48, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to Uniform Property Tax Administration and Equalization.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 483 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, and Parrish, the 158th. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 13 of Title 16, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to controlled substances.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 484 by Representative Welch of the 110th. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 8 of Chapter 14 to Title 44 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to liens.
Judiciary.
House Bill 485 by Representative Welch of the 110th. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 21A of Title 15 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to judicial accounting.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 346 by Representative Tankersley, the 160th, Carson, the 46th, Hitchens, the 161st, Burns, the 159th, and Parrish, the 158th. A resolution honoring the lives of Caitlin Baggett, Morgan Bass, Emily Clark, Abby DeLoach, and Catherine McKay Pittman, and dedicating a bridge in their memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 367 by Representative Pullen, the 131st. Resolution urging the Georgia school districts to have an emergency medical technician present.
Education.
Senate Bill 43 by Senator Payne of the 54th, Mullis of the 53rd, Miller of the 49th, Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, and others. A bill being titled Act to amend Article 3, Chapter 82, and Title 36, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to revenue bonds.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
Senate Bill 66 by Senator Gooch of the 51st, Ginn of the 47th, Lucas of the 26th, Dugan of the 30th, Cowser of the 46th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 36 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to local government.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
Senate Bill 68 by Senator Sims of the 12th, Wilkinson of the 50th, Perrin of the 42nd, Walker of the 20th, Karen Shack of the 48th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 20 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to education.
Education.
Senate Bill 73 by Senator Harper of the 7th, Alvers of the 56th, Gooch of the 51st, Mullis of the 53rd, Robertson of the 29th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 15, 1880, and Article 4, Chapter 17, to Title 47, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to policy and procedure.
Retirement.
Senate Bill 87 by Senator Tillery of the 19th. The bill being titled an act to amend an act providing for the membership of Toombs County Development Authority.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 89 by Senator Perrin of the 42nd, Henson of the 41st, Butler of the 55th, Davenport of the 44th, and Anderson of the 43rd. Bill be titled an act to amend an act providing a new charter for the city of Decatur.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 434 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, Stevens of the 164th, Petrie of the 166th, Lumsden of the 12th, Tanner of the 9th. A bill relating to campus policemen. House Bill 435 by Representative Wilson of the 80th, Couch of the 50th, Holland of the 54th, Davis of the 87th, Hutchinson of the 107th, and others. Bill relating to dangerous instrumentalities and practices. House Bill 436 by Representative Williams of the 145th and Rhodes of the 120th. A bill to amend an act providing for the membership of the Sinclair Water Authority. House Bill 437 by Representative Davis of the 87th, Trammell of the 132nd, Bodie of the 62nd, Jones of the 91st, Jackson of the 64th, and others. A bill relating to selling and other trade practices. House Bill 438 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd, Cantrell of the 22nd, Welch of the 110th, and Oliver of the 82nd. A bill relating to general provisions of the Juvenile Code. House Bill 439 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd, and Welch of the 110th. A bill relating to juvenile court administration. House Bill 440 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd, Welch of the 110th, Gaines of the 117th, Collins of the 68th, Oliver of the 82nd, and others. Bill relating to the Juvenile Code. House Bill 441 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, Collins of the 68th, Alexander of the 66th, a bill relating to general provisions regarding the Juvenile Code. House Bill 442 by Representative Schofield of the 60th, Smiley of the 135th, Barnell of the 77th, Beverly of the 143rd, Bennett of the 94th, and others, a bill relating to scholarships, loans, and grants. House Bill 443 by Representative Bodie of the 62nd, Trier of the 59th, Schofield of the 60th, a bill relating to water and sewer projects and costs tax. House Bill 444 by Representative Reeves of the 34th, Lott of the 122nd, Rogers of the 10th, Larecchia of the 169th, and Knight of the 130th, a bill relating to education. House Bill 452 by Representative Saines of the 180th, Kelly of the 16th, Harrell of the 106th, Corbett of the 174th, Burns of the 159th, and others, a bill relating to enforcement of duty of support. House Bill 453 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, Bodie of the 62nd, Collins of the 68th, and Alexander of the 66th, a bill to authorize Douglas County to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 454 by Representative Tanner of the 9th, and Newlowitz of the 42nd, Gaines of the 117th, Fry of the 118th, Cooper of the 43rd, a bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. House Bill 455 by Representative Houston of the 170th, England of the 116th, McCall of the 33rd, Gilliard of the 162nd, Stovall of the 74th, a bill relating to agriculture. House Bill 456 by Representative Tankersley of the 160th, a bill relating to local government budgets and audits. House Bill 470 by Representative Saines of the 180th, Corbett of the 174th, Hitchens of the 161st, Welch of the 110th, Montana of the 17th, a bill relating to DNA sampling, collection, and analysis. House Bill 471 by Representative Saines of the 180th, Fleming of the 121st, Kelly of the 16th, Hill of the 3rd, Hitchens of the 161st, a bill relating to cancellation, suspension, and revocation of licenses. House Bill 472 by Representative Reeves of the 34th, Rogers of the 10th, Larecchia of the 169th, Lott of the 122nd, Dempsey of the 13th, a bill relating to general provisions of the Juvenile Code. House Resolution 325 by Representative McLean of the 100th, Hughley of the 136th, Wynn of the 89th, Schofield of the 60th, McLeod of the 105th, resolution proposing amendments to the Constitution so as to provide for the vacancy in the office of an elected constitutional executive officer upon an incumbent officer qualifying for election to another elective constitutional executive office. House Resolution 326 by Representative Houston of the 170th, Watson of the 172nd, Perkle of the 155th, a resolution recognizing Mr. Rogers C. Dill and dedicating a building in his honor. House Resolution 327 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, resolution proposing amendments to the Constitution so as to authorize the General Assembly to provide by law for the local authorization of a limited number of licensed destination resort facilities, casino resorts within the state. House Resolution 328 by Representative Clark of the 98th, Cook of the 18th, Stover of the 71st, Jones of the 167th, Gilligan of the 24th, and others. Resolution encouraging the Speaker of the House of Representatives to resign from his leadership position. House Resolution 329 by Representative Bodie of the 62nd, Basemore of the 63rd, Bruce of the 61st, Jackson of the 64th, Alexander of the 66th, and others. Resolution creating the House Study Committee on Homeowners Association, Condominium Owners Associations, and Property Owners in Community Associations. House Resolution 345 by Representative Holly of the 111th, Clark of the 108th, Cannon of the 58th, Hobson of the 153rd, Dreyer of the 59th, and others. Resolution proposing amendments to the Constitution so as to provide that persons who are 17 years of age and older may register to vote and vote in elections in the state. Senate Bill 32 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Kirk of the 13th, Butler of the 55th, Payne of the 54th, Orrick of the 36th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to torts. Senate Bill 67 by Senator Burke of the 11th, Hill of the 4th, Kirk of the 13th, Sims of the 12th, and Wallace of the 53rd. A bill relating to capital outlay funds for elementary and secondary education. Senate Bill 99 by Senator Harper of the 7th, Mullis of the 53rd, Lucas of the 26th, Karen Shack of the 48th, Jones of the 25th, and others. A bill relating to issuance and sale of hunting, fishing, and trapping licenses through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Administration of the 104th District, Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil has had under consideration the following bill of the House and instructed me to report back to the same House the following recommendation. House Bill 426, do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Administration of the 104th District, Chairman. That completes the report of standing committees.
This House will come to order. House will come to order. We are about to go on to morning orders. We have about 12 or 13 have signed up for a morning order. Chair is going to limit morning orders to 2 minutes each today. Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Sheila Jones. Just a minute, Representative. At the risk of being redundant, the chair expects that when members are in the well, that members of the House that are in the chamber will give them attention and basically treat them the way you would want to be treated if you were in the well on a morning order. This is not complicated. Lady may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We rise to recognize and commend the Georgia chapter of NCNW, National Council of Negro Women, and to recognize today as NCNW Day at the state capitol. NCNW was founded by Mary McLeod Bethune in 1935 to represent national and international concerns of black women. The organization has fought for jobs and the right to vote. She was a founding member and the first president of the organization. And today, our national president is Ingrid Sanders Jones.
At this time, I would like to recognize the presidents of the chapters here in Georgia. From Columbus, Dr. Kimberly Scott. From DeKalb County, Derica Williams. Greater Atlanta, Diane Larche. Henry Clayton County, Diane Miller. Rockdale Newton County, Debbie Holloman. Savannah, Cynthia Stevens. Collegiate chapters, West Georgia College, Spelman College, Kennesaw State College, Clark Atlanta University, UGA, Mercer University, Valdosta State University, Savannah State University, and Fort Valley State University. Would you kindly give them a hand? And if you are in the gallery, would you please stand?
And recognize our national state president.
And I would be remiss if I did not recognize our national state president, Sharon Denton, our state president. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Susan Holmes for a morning order. Chair recognizes Chairman Ron Stevens for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Georgia Humanities Day at the Capitol. Got a lot of folks roaming around the Capitol. Just want to make sure that you're aware that they're here. You also have a book today presented by the author Chris Grant, who is a PhD from Mercer University. We're going to try to get you his contact information. I've talked to several members who want to know a little bit of history about the General Assembly, and you will find this book, basically Cliff Notes, that's very easy read, big letters for me and others. But I want to thank Georgia Power and Mercer University for providing this book on the history of the General Assembly. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Game, Fish, and Parks Committee, Chairman Rhodes, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a great group of young people here with us today. Some future leaders from home, the seniors from Nathaniel Green Academy, and I would just ask if you would stand and welcome them to their capital. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Majority Caucus Whip, Representative Kelly, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I come to the well this morning to recognize a group of friends of mine in the gallery. Some of my fellow Rotarians from the Polk County Rotary are here. They've made the drive over, and we're so glad to have them with us. If y'all would just stand up and let us welcome you to the People's House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Scott for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. African Americans have been responsible for some of the world's most crucial creations. Gerald A. Lawson, the modern home video game console. He created the first home video game system that used interchangeable cartridges. Otis Bodkin, the artificial heart pacemaker control unit. The modern day pacemaker would not exist without his engineering work. We have Mark Hanna, 3D graphics technology used in films. The computer scientists developed 3D technology that is used in Hollywood films today. Patricia Bath, the cataract laser probe, her device removed cataracts lens with a laser, saving the eyesight of millions. And Alexander Miles, the elevator design. He invented the automated opening and closing of doors. His patent is still used today, a moment in Black history. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Gullett, Vice Chairman Gravely, Representative Momtahan, Chairman Fleming, and Representative Williams for a morning order.
Waiting for the other one? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to recognize our elections officials here today for the Georgia Elections Officials and Registrars Day. I used to serve on our county's election board, and they're here today. Thank you, Deidre Holden and the gang. But thank you all of our elections officials. I know how much work you put into this. I know how hard the task is. So thank you for being here today. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Al Williams, Representative Frazier, and Representative Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Sickle Cell Day at the Capitol. Unfortunately, most of us are not very aware of sickle cell if it is not affecting your family. Even though over 7,000 African Americans are affected, and predominantly it's an African American disease, it can attack all nationalities and ethnicities. So we rise today just to say thanks to some warriors that are out there every day fighting to make life better for those that are affected by this awful disease. We have with us today in the gallery people from all over Georgia that are representing their respective areas in the fight against sickle cell anemia. And as an aside, 14 of those who are getting ready to rise are from Liberty County. So will you please let us welcome you properly. Please stand. Thank you so much. We have Dr. Newton here, he is my personal physician now. I hadn't paid him yet.
Checks in the mail. I do want to thank you all for being here. This is a disease that we've made great progress on, but we're not where we need to be. A lot of the progress that's been made, I see a lot of it in the emergency department with sickle cell crises and the devastation that can cause both short-term and long-term. I appreciate y'all's advocacy and your work in this area, and we'll continue the fight. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Werkheiser for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you're a state rep and your life is not a bed of roses, as mentioned by the pastor this morning, maybe you're representing the wrong area of the state. Today is Claxton, Evans County Day. I don't know if they've made it into the gallery, but wanted to recognize them. Thank you, Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Shannon for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to recognize my aunt, retired Judge Esther Wiggins. She's in the gallery. She's actually here to help me this legislative session, and she's actually a part of Black History. So it's very appropriate that we're talking about this for Black History Month. In 1986, she became the first African-American prosecutor for Arlington County, Virginia, and in 1998, she became the first African-American to sit on the Arlington County Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court. And she's a very tough judge, so you don't want to be in front of her. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall for a morning order.
Good morning, members, and I'm joined here with Representative Burno. We're here to welcome Riverdale High School, their social studies department here at the state capitol. Members, they were standing on the outside, so we're going to ask you to stand and greet them so they can hear it from the outside. Thank you.
Chair would like to recognize on the floor of the House a former member of this body, former chair of the MARTOC, former Representative Tom Taylor. Chair recognizes Representative Mary Margaret Oliver to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're very pleased to have again with us today Dr. Stephen Holbrook, who's been an emergency physician for 32 years. Today he works for both the VA and for Georgia Tech. He has a very long career of leadership in emergency medicine at in Grady and Emory. Thank you very much, Dr. Holbrook, for being with us again today.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. As an emergency physician, we get to see all of your constituents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We thank you for thinking of them as you're working through all the issues that you have. The emergency physicians will be here for you whenever you need them. Have a good day. Thank you.
Let's get a picture.
Yes, ma'am.
We're going on now to recognizing some very distinguished Georgians. Chair would ask the clerk to read the caption to House Resolution 110.
House Resolution 110 by Representative Glanton, the 75th night of the 130th Park of the 101st, Peachtree of the 166th, and Walensky the 79th. A resolution recognizing the 45th anniversary of the Consulate General of Japan in the Southeast and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Sam Park for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. It is my honor and privilege to welcome and introduce the Japanese Consul General to the Georgia House of Representatives. This year marks the 45th anniversary of the Japanese Consulate General in the Southeast. Throughout this time, Georgia and Japan have maintained a strong relationship that includes nearly $6.3 billion in imports and exports and more than 650 Japan-affiliated offices in our state that employ more than 35,000 Georgians. Here's to another 45 years of strong ties and mutual friendships. Colleagues, please give a warm Georgia welcome to Japanese Consul General Takashi Shinozuka.
Thank you, Representative Park. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the Georgia House of Representatives, dear friends, it is a huge honor and privilege to stand before you on behalf of my country as we celebrate the 45th anniversary of the opening of the Japanese consulate here in Atlanta and the long friendship between the great state of Georgia and Japan. Since we opened here our consulate for the Southeast 45 years ago, our relations have continued to grow. The state of Georgia helps the Japanese companies to invest, and our companies were proud to call Georgia home and to be good corporate citizens. As a result, we now have more than 600 Japanese affiliated companies thriving in the Peach State, working with more than 36,000 Georgians. These companies continue to expand, invest, and create new jobs. And in fall 2019, the South Japan Conference, an annual great business conference between the Japanese business leaders and 7 states in the Southeast, will be held in Savannah, Georgia. Today, Japan and Georgia are closer than ever. As you have kindly recognized in your resolution, the Japanese community is proud to be part of the efforts to make Georgia greater. We look forward to working and thriving together with every other community. Thank you again for today's tremendous honor, and thank you for your continued support. This year, Japan will start a new era in May with a new emperor acceding to the throne. We are confident that in this new era as well, the friendship and partnership between the great state of Georgia and Japan will continue to grow and develop for many long years. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 56.
House Resolution 56 by Representatives Frazier, the 126th, Bruce, the 61st, Williams, the 168th, Cooper, the 43rd, and Smyrie, the 135th. A resolution commending Georgia's sickle cell poster children and the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia, Incorporated, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Gloria Frazier for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Sickle Cell Day at the state capitol. The Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia is comprised of a devoted group of medical professionals, technicians, administrators, and staff members that work throughout the community and partner with healthcare providers, legislators to support groups to end sickle cell. I would like to thank the Sickle Cell Foundation and our leader, Ms. Deb McClary, and the entire Sickle Cell staff for putting this Advocacy Day together today. It is an honor to have all of you here advocating for the eradication of sickle cell. And I am also honored today to have our 2017-2019 poster child that is here with us today, along with other members that have sickle cell disease. Everybody that's standing up here with me today have this inheritable disease. So at this time, I would like for our poster child, Ms. Kendrylyn Pitts, to come forward, and she will share her story with you. You good?
Good morning. My name is Kendrylyn Pitts. I am the poster child for the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia. I am 11 years old. I am in the 5th grade. I have SB beta thal sickle cell disease. The first thing I want to point out is I have sickle cell disease, but the disease does not have me. We have many pain crises. These crises require a trip to the ER. We have to be in the hospital for long periods of time. Because of our long hospital stays, we miss school, our parents miss work, and sometimes lose their jobs. Because people not understanding sickle cell disease and how at any time it affects our whole family. This is why we need your support to help the state of Georgia realize how important the Sickle Cell Foundation is to me and others like me. Don't dismiss us because we look perfect on the outside. Be kind and help us fight for a cure. Thank you for your time and support.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 348.
House Resolution 348 by Representative Reinders of the 152nd, a resolution commending and congratulating the Lee County High School Trojans football team for winning the 2018 GHSA Class 6A State Football Championship, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Ed Reinders for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So nice. We did it twice. Lee County High School football Trojans 6A state titles, second year in a row, 21-game winning streak. I think it was 13 players to sign college scholarships. 16, I stand corrected, 16 players, and one of only 3 teams in the entire state to go 15-0. I'm very proud. We've got some members in the gallery. Y'all please stand. Some of the others are over in the Senate. Congratulations, guys. Mr. Speaker, my nominee for Superintendent of the Year and a personal friend, Dr. Jason Miller.
Thank you, Speaker Ralston and Chairman Reinders. I would like to make a small presentation on behalf of Lee County for our appreciation for your outstanding service and leadership for our state and community. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
We're honored to be recognized by the House today, and we're privileged to be here again for the second time to honor the 2018 state championship football team. I have with me today some outstanding young men and one of our great leaders, and I would like to introduce them to you. Our athletic director, Mr. Hank Wright, is with us from Lee County High School. The big fella here behind Chairman Reinders is Griffin Carter. He's going to play for Georgia Southern next year. And next to Griffin are James and Barron Hobson. If that name sounds familiar, their mother is a member of this house, and I know she's very proud of both those young men. Let me say something about these young men and those in the gallery. They are not only very good football players, but they're great young men, the kind of people you would want your children to be around to associate with you. They bring honor to this community that we're from and also to this state. We may be number one in football, but learning is and always will be number one in Lee County. And we thank the members of this chamber for their great support of education. We couldn't do what we do without you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 244.
House Resolution 244 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Stevens 165th, Stevens 164th, Petrie of the 166th, Gordon 163rd, and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Flagey and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Carl Gilliard for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to my brothers and sisters in the Georgia House of Representatives.
It's a great day in Georgia when we can see that out of the mouth of babes this morning, something profound will come to the House of Representatives. And I'm reminded that one late night around 1:30 in the morning, my daughter Diamond woke me up and she said, "Dad, I want to talk to you. Is the news on?" And I said, "No, the news comes on in the wee hours of the morning or the evening." And I said, "What's going on?" She said, this was a couple of weeks ago, one of my friends just got killed. 17 years old, he was a rap recording artist. He was at a teen event trying to do something positive. And I say to you that guns don't die, people do. And so today we're elated that a 14-year-old, out of her mouth, something positive comes. She is from the city of Savannah, but she's a national voice for young people and people all over the nation. You've seen her on Jermaine Dupri's television show, The Rap Game. You might have even seen her on America's Got Talent. When the gold buzzer hit, something hit my heart. And so today, would you focus your attention toward the screens right now, just for a minute?
Wow, Flaugier. Mel, let me go to you.
Gosh.
Wow.
You are so on point and so honest, and you're only 14? Oh, I love you.
Thank you.
I love you.
Well, even though I don't know a lot about rap music, I do know talent. And right now, I believe we are witnessing the start of somebody's career big time. Oh my God. I really do. I genuinely do. This has been my favorite audition by a clear mile today, Flaugier. We're going to vote on this. Let's do it. Howie?
I hope America all puts their guns down and spends time voting for you, so it's a yes.
Mel?
A definite yes from me, yes!
Ready?
Definite yes.
Okay, Flaugier, get ready for the next round because you got 4 yeses.
Is she a definite yes for the House of Representatives on today? She's here today with her mother. She's here today with representation from the Dallas Austin Foundation. They're going to be joining us also, her family members. She's here today with her younger brother who's taking the show right now. She's here today with everyone that is surrounding her in representation. But today they'll be at 12 o'clock at the Garden Room for 150 youth that are coming from around the state to join us to tell us what the problem is. They're from middle school and high school. It's a town hall meeting, and she'll be joining us. Would you welcome her to the people's house, the people's person, Ms. Flaugier?
Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing this morning? First, I want to thank the Speaker of the House, Mr. Ralston. I want to thank Mr. Gilliard for bringing me here. I just want to say a little bit of something. Many of you don't know, I'm Flaugier. I'm a rapper. What I did on that audition, I spoke about a gun problem that we have, and my father died due to gun violence before I was born, and he was also a rapper, and I kind of felt that it was my duty to speak about it, to let people know, because we know what's going on, we just don't speak about it. And I think people are actually afraid to speak about the positive because they don't know what kind of backlash they're going to get for it. But I feel like if we speak the positive, we can change things, you know? We gotta get people to understand where we're coming from. We gotta get people to feel it and understand it, and they will accept it. Being 15 years old, I probably don't look 15, but I'm 15, and I've been through a lot in my years that I've been on this earth, and I just feel like if I can go through something and I can translate it to somebody to help somebody else, that's going to make the world a better place. And that's what I do in my music. I feel like now in the music, it's more of a negative energy around the word hip-hop. So when you first think of a hip-hop, you think of drugs, you know, cars, all this, but in my music I try to talk about something different, something that people can relate to that's really going on, because nobody else is really pushing a positive message, and that's what I bring in my music. So, I just want people to understand who I am and where I come from and why I'm doing this. I want to thank my mom for always being there for me. Yes, round of applause, please. That's my lady. I want to thank my stepdad. I want to thank everybody who's been helping me on my journey. This is not the last you will see of me, and I'm excited to show y'all what I brought. Let's do it. Okay. They want me to. He wants me to do a little bit of my rap, so I'm gonna do it for you. All right, y'all want to hear it? All right, let's do it. It goes like this. Look, if he would have put that gun down, then he would have been here right now. And if he would have put that gun down, then she would have been here right now. If he would have put that gun down, then they would have been here right now. If he would have put that gun down. Listen, look, do you know what it's like to not have a father? No one to talk to when you get mad at your mama? I know you ain't gonna pick up the phone, but I still call you. The reason that it hurts so bad that I never saw you. And the way my grandma be acting, it got me losing hope. I swear to God, I hate to see her on and off the coat. She said, baby girl, this is just the way I cope. And all this weight up on my shoulders trying to stay afloat. But nah, I don't want your sympathy. I'm just telling y'all this was really, really meant for me. This industry, this is where I'm really meant to be. That's why the labels and the TV shows, yeah, they keep on hitting me. And mama was struggling trying to keep the lights on. And I had some snakes in my grass, yeah, those pythons. It's hard to see the silver lining when the lights off. But I know one day that I'm gonna be an icon. Yeah, so I gotta keep pushing. People still hating on me, at least I know that they looking. And they see me coming up, so they peek through the bushes. But I'm just trying to raise awareness for the people that's looking. And yo, that's me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
What purpose does Chairman Houston rise?
I'd like to make a motion, please.
State your motion.
I'd like to ask for House Bill 455 to be moved from agriculture into state properties, and I've talked to both committee chairmen, and they approve.
Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 455 by Representative Houston and the 170th and others, be titled an act to amend Title II of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to agriculture so as to create the Georgia Agricultural Marketing Authority.
On the lady's motion that House Bill 455 be withdrawn from the Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee and committed to the State Properties Committee, is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. What purpose does Chairman Taylor rise?
make a motion.
State your motion.
I would like to move that a bill be read for the first time and assigned to a committee.
Chairman Taylor has moved that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee. The clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Taylor, the 173rd, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 13 to Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia entitled relating to insurance holding company systems.
On the lady's motion that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none. It is so ordered. Insurance. All right, we're going on to the rules calendar. We are going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 284.
House Bill 284 by Representative Carson in the 46th, Parsons the 44th, Dollar the 45th, and Olowitz the 43rd, 42nd, Earhart of the 36th, and others, be titled an act to provide that future elections for the office of Chief Judge of the Magistrate Court of Cobb County shall be nonpartisan elections. This bill having referred to the Committee on Government Affairs. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Carson to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. House Bill 284, it's very simple. All this does is change the Magistrate Court of Cobb County from a partisan to a nonpartisan election. As you can see from the sponsors, it has some bipartisan support. Under House Rule 50, I must remind you, under House Rule 50, that bills in regard to partisan makeup have to be carried as general bills. And that's all this does, Mr. Speaker. And there's no questions, I will yield.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on House Bill 284? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. There is a minority report. There is a minority report. Are you speaking? Both of you? Okay. Chair recognizes the minority leader of the House, Leader Trammell, to speak to the minority report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to yield the balance of the time for the minority report to the gentleman from the 38th, Representative Wilkerson.
Chair recognizes Representative Wilkerson to speak to the minority report. I'd remind the representative that the rules of the House provide for 20 minutes on a minority report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I promise I won't be here that long. I come today to speak about House Bill 284 to make the Chief Magistrate Court Judge nonpartisan in Cobb County. I want to thank everybody in the chamber that I've had discussions with, whether they be lawyers, whether they be other professions. I thank people in the community. And there is a general desire to make sure that when people walk into the courtroom that they have a fair hearing in front of the judge. They really, and I understand when people say they don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. What they do care about is the process. And if we are going to go county by county and change judges to nonpartisan, I think that taints the process somewhat. So based on the feedback that I've received from everybody, I am asking you to vote no on this bill because there is some dissension in Cobb County, a significant amount of dissension in Cobb County on making this just a county bill. And I do have a bill that would make all magistrate and probate court judges nonpartisan. So if our desire is to make nonpartisan bills for these two judges, I say let's do that statewide. I have a significant number of signatures, and for all those that had that concern, I would be happy to let them to sign onto this bill and we could drop it, but I ask that you vote no on House Bill 284 because it only impacts Cobb County, and I know the majority members on our side are not in favor of that, and we would like to see this process slow down a little bit. Thank you.
Previous question has been ordered on House Bill 284. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 284 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Representative Williams rise? What purpose does Chairman F. Strachan rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that pursuant to the judicial canons, it is unethical for a judge to act in a partisan manner while in office?
That's my understanding, yes. What purpose does Representative Wilkerson rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true while they cannot act in a partisan manner, this also has to do with the public's perception of the court process, and that's why we're asking people to do this statewide.
I'm sure the gentleman believes that to be true. What purpose does Chairman Setzler rise? He waves. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 284, the ayes are 95, the nays are 69. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 285.
House Bill 285 by Representative Carson, the 46th, Parsons, the 45th, Dollar, the 45th, and Olowitz, the 42nd, Earhart, the 36th, and others to be entitled an act to provide that future elections for the office of probate judge of Cobb County shall be nonpartisan elections. This bill having referred to the Committee on Government Affairs. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Carson to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is House Bill 285. This same type of bill. The only change being made here, this makes the Cobb County probate judge going from partisan to a nonpartisan office. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield if there's no questions.
You have no questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on House Bill 285? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection? I'm sorry, we have a minority report. First of all, let me recognize the minority leader. What purpose does the minority leader of the House rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that the consideration before this body in House Bill 285 is exactly the same as House Bill 284?
If the gentleman so states.
And Mr. Speaker, further inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that rather than belabor the point that we would like to ask the members to take in consideration the same issues that they took into consideration on the previous bill and waive the minority report?
So noted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill. The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 285 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 285, the ayes are 97, the nays are 71. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 185.
House Bill 185 by Representative Williamson of the 115th, Frazier of the 126th, to be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 7 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to financial institutions, so as to change certain definitions to provide for related matters and to repeal conflicting laws. This bill I'm referred to the Committee on Banks and Banking. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Bruce Williamson to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly. This bill is the Department of Banking and Finance's annual housekeeping bill. It contains proposed legislative changes identified by the department or suggested by the industry over the last year. The focus is to continue streamlining and simplifying existing statutes to make the department's regulation more efficient and thereby easing regulatory burdens on financial institutions in the state. It contains revisions to the bank, credit union, money service businesses, including money transmitters and sellers of payment instruments. Comes with the support of the Georgia Bankers Association, Georgia Credit Union affiliates, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and has no objection from the money service businesses. Passed unanimously out of the Banks and Bankings Committee, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Not ask for your favorable consideration for the measure. And,
You have no questions.
thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 185 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 185, the ayes are 171, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. clerk will read the caption to House Bill 228.
House Bill 228 by Representative Welch, the 110th, Ballinger, the 23rd, Jones, the 47th, Oliver, the 82nd, Holcomb, the 81st, and others. To be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 19 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia, annotated relating to marriage generally, so as change the minimum age of marriage of a child from 16 to 17 years of age. This bill having referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Andy Welch to present the bill. Just a minute, Mr. Chairman. We are on the rules calendar. Chair is going to ask that you keep conversation to a barely audible level. Gentlemen may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I bring before you House Bill 228. And in short terms, this would increase the age of marriage from 16 to 17. Current law allows that a child may marry at the age of 16 after going through an emancipation process that really just requires an affidavit from one of the parents. In this situation, we are asking you to consider moving that age from 16 to 17 and strengthening the emancipation process for those seeking a child marriage. The question is why? And the reason for this is because the statistics of our current age and our current cultural dynamics are such that child brides, when they marry young, are often in poverty and they remain in poverty. Girls who marry underage are 31% more likely to remain in poverty or be in poverty in the future. And when looking at this, more than 50% of those young girls drop out of school, and they're 4 times as less likely to graduate from college. I think that the issue is one of promoting young women, for the most part, to make decisions that are in their long-term economic and health interest. You'll notice that on your desk that we've provided you from Representative Holcomb and Representative Ballinger and myself information that you can read regarding this issue. I will point out that the bill does set a cap that even if you are 17 and you wish to marry someone that is older than you, there's a 4-year limit as to how much older the man could be in that relationship. And I'll be happy to take any questions, but I ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 228.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I do, yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Petrie to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do, yes, sir.
Representative Welch, so right now this bill requires 6 hours of professional counseling before these individuals would be able to marry.
That's current law, yes, sir. And
that's current law?
Yes, sir.
Who would provide that counseling?
So on the page, and I'll turn to the right now, if you look at page 2, rolling over to page 3, and if you'll look down at the bottom of page 3, you'll see that language has been struck through, but the language has been moved forward into a new subsection A. And under there, at lines 62, 64, 65, and 66, you'll see the identified individuals who can provide that counseling, which mirrors exactly what we have in current law, except for the reference to the clergy.
Got you. And one further question. So to make sure I understand, so if a young woman and a young man were 16 and they were to become pregnant together, they would not be able to marry if we were to pass this bill. Is that correct? If they chose to marry and have that child in wedlock, they would not be able to do this until the age of 17 if this bill were to pass. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Chair recognizes Representative Oliver to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a co-sponsor of this bill, and I rise in support. When folks approached me about this issue in the last year, I remembered very fondly that Bobby Franklin and I, a dozen years ago, and I believe Representative Jenner was part of this too, we worked on a bill that changed the issue of pregnancy for 16-year-olds prior to the legislation that was passed. Primary author Bobby Franklin, we removed that pregnancy was an exception to marriage, and that was the will of the body at that time. Since folks have brought me this issue of what they term forced marriage, I've been surveying my juvenile court judges in a variety of jurisdictions about the extent to which they see something that you may call forced marriage. And each of them have said that in the area where teenagers are abused, in some way under the power of someone a great deal older, they have felt in a number of cases that the teenager was escaping defects, was escaping supervision, was escaping their parents through a marriage. That influenced me a great deal. In the last month or two, we've seen a whole lot of publicity about the R. Kelly fiasco, danger, and injury to young teenagers that brought back the issue to me in connection with this bill. Overpowering, out of age, out of sync relationships that should be not happening, and I believe this bill serves as an additional appropriate policy decision for 17-year-olds and marriage issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Lady has yielded the well. Chair recognizes Representative Holcomb to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I enthusiastically support this measure and encourage you to do so as well. I want to begin by thanking Chairman Welch for his hard work on this. It's been an issue that I've followed for some time globally, the issue of child marriage, but last summer it was brought to my attention by an advocate, and we took a hard look at the issue here in Georgia, and I filed an Open Records Act request to the Georgia Department of Public Health, and we received data back. Georgia does not publicly report marriage license data, but through this Open Records Act request, we received data from the time period of 2000 to 2015, and we learned that 10,000 children were married in Georgia during that time period. In recent years, about 200 to 225 children have been married each year in Georgia. About 25% of those are age 16, which this change would then prohibit, and about 75% are age 17. And this law strengthens our current procedures for those who would be 17 years old. I support this bill for several reasons. One, children are vulnerable and they have limited options to protect themselves because they lack the rights of an adult in our judicial system. Child marriages compromise girls' futures and their families' futures. And it's important that both parties to a marriage be on equal legal footing. This bill is definitely an improvement under current law, but I would even go further to just set a bright line at 18, and maybe someday we will get there for our state. But for right now, I encourage your favorable consideration of House Bill 228, and I yield the well.
You
Thank
have
you,
a
Mr.
question if you care to yield.
I will.
Chair recognizes Chairman Setzler to your right for a question.
Does Jim yield?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your advocacy on this, and this is, I think we would all recognize, a very difficult subject. I am sensitive, though, particularly in the provision about the 4-year separation in age. I know in a criminal context, as we've looked at this and what we've called the Romeo and Juliet clauses, it really becomes a 4 years to the day threshold. So my question is, if you had of course, the age of consent, isn't it true, is 16 here in Georgia for consensual sex? Isn't that true?
Yes.
And I think none of us here would encourage that. But if there were a relationship between people where there was a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old, and the 21-year-old were, instead of being 48 months older, they were 51, 52 months older. They were maybe a birthday in June versus a birthday in February, a 17 and 21. there's no provision, even here as I read, that even the parents could allow the 17-year-old to marry the 21-year-old if they were perhaps pregnant with child. Why don't we have a provision to allow parents to allow that to happen in that circumstance?
Well, they can get married, they just can't get married until they're old enough to do so. And so we're taking a public policy stance recognizing that children are children. And there's a lot of research now that shows that full understanding in terms of the brains in both males and females doesn't really happen until the 20s. And so we want to give not the parents the most protection, we want to give the children the most protection. And I think that this bill does that. And you have to draw the line somewhere, and I think that 4 years is a reasonable time period, and what that is driving at is to prohibit circumstances where the male may be 20 years old, 30 years old, and it's really a coercive marriage and one that's not entered into voluntarily.
I appreciate the gentleman's consent, and there's no doubt about the gentleman's intentions here, and I think we all share the same intention. I just would pause when we think about a hard prohibition against a marriage, even when everybody's in agreement, even when it's a healthy marriage and parents would agree. The hard 4-year, 48-month provision, I think takes more study. And although I share the gentleman's concerns, I am concerned about how we as a General Assembly could preclude that from ever happening, even in a very healthy relationship that perhaps had a shared child.
You have additional questions if you care to yield.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Erica Thomas to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Is it true that this measure is to help children in the state of Georgia and to make sure they are not in forced marriages?
Yes, it is.
And is it not further true that this measure passed unanimously out of committee?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Thank you so much for this matter.
Do you further yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Hutchinson to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Isn't it true that in the state of Georgia, a 16-year-old is taught in sex education abstinence first?
If the lady so states.
Isn't it further true that in the state of Georgia, we're not in the statute allowed to teach medically accurate information to a 16-year-old in the state of Georgia?
If the lady so states.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you.
You have no further questions.
Thank you, sir. I yield the well and ask favorable consideration on House Bill 228.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 228. The ayes are 158. The nays are 13. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the chair of the Majority Caucus, Chairman Hatchett, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Majority Caucus will meet upon our break for a meeting and lunch, 4:03 in the Capitol.
Chair recognizes Chairman Beverly, the chair of the Minority Caucus, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Georgia House Democratic Caucus will meet in room 216 for lunch, grab-and-go lunch, and then I need you to make your way over to 415 in CLOB. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any other announcements that must be made? Chair recognizes Representative Dickerson for an announcement.
Women of the House, we have a Women Legislative Caucus right now. We have lunch served and our guests are in room 514 CLOB. Thank you.
Seeing no further announcements, the House will be in recess for lunch until 1:15. 1:15.